to live inside the monastery. This has never been and will never be something for the mainstream, yeah? Only crazy ones like me do this.
It's about opening. Opening the mind, opening the body, opening the senses. Opening your awareness. And therefore, I also think that this is maybe a way also to get people back from that track.
So many of you have asked for it, so we have delivered. This is the Shiheng Complete Collection. If you want to help support the Mulligan Brothers further into making documentaries and interviews like this, please consider supporting us at mulliganbrothers.com, where you can get the sale now on linked down below. Details are pinned in the top comment. If you want to help support Master Shiheng Yi, head over to shaolin.online as well to find more resources. Thank you for watching and have a blessed day. Let's dive into this. People want to know how to stop overthinking. How do they stop overthinking or ruminating on things?
The easy answer would right now be learn how to meditate, okay? But to really bring it into perspective right now. Overthinking is either something inside of the mind is fluctuating all the time. There is too much input available and it's jumping from one to another. So in a way, there is that type of restlessness of the mind. It's continuously jumping, which means it's too much. So you're thinking about too many different things. This is one type of overthinking. Overthinking can also mean you only have one thing that is like keeping you busy, but you are turning it over and over again and never come to any type of conclusion. It's also a type of overthinking related to, let's say, one subject. So these are now simplified, the two problematic states. Problematic if you don't have the ability to switch it off if you want to switch it off. Yeah? If you have the ability to regulate this about yourself. So when you want to be focused, you can be focused. When you want to dream, you can dream. If you want to make your brainstorming, you can open up for brainstorming. If this is the range of adjustment you have about yourself, then it's not a problem. A problem is if you need to stay focused, but then you're shattered. These are the moments when it makes sense to learn methods, how to avoid that, or how to really focus when you need focus. Now, I wouldn't say that the right approach would be to state that focus is the only right way. No, we have focus in this life, which means there's a limited type of view you're putting yourself in, because this limited type of view it's the collection of awareness, it's the collection, the summary of intention into a specific spot that you want right now to make it grow faster or to develop faster. That's why we need focus. That all the energy is bundled into that one focus point. So you want to push something forward, you need focus. But how, amongst all this variety of options that we humans sometimes have, how do you know on what should I focus? Should I focus on the social media? Should I focus on my family? Should I focus on that business number one? Or should I focus on business number two? Should I focus on wife number one or wife number two? Yeah, there's so many different options. And therefore, what you need is overview sometimes about your life. Overview, the wide view, the wide angle is different than focus. The focus is, I only watch you. I'm focused. But the more I get into that limited view, the more I will forget about she's sitting there, there's your brother, there are your friends. So what needs to be learned and is able to be developed is you have both sometimes at the same time. I know who is sitting where, but at the same time I also know in which direction I'm pointing my words to. So that means on the one side there is something open at this moment in time, but at the same time also you have something focused. And to have and learn the ability to access this, let's say with your mind, to train your mind that he is always like in this category, because it's like you're driving the car. Of course it matters what you're doing in regards to the steering, so it's like the direct focused interaction, yeah, but only in interplay with all the other drivers on the street. So what is now more important, to focus on the others or to focus on your driving? Both of it at the same time. Only this focus and the openness at the same time, this is what means yin and yang cannot be separated. But in order to get there, sometimes it's necessary to individually, separately practice, okay, this now is a focused state, and this one right now is an open state. Yeah? To be very clear and be able to distinguish for yourself. Okay, this is the focus, it feels like this. This is the open, it feels like that. And now comes the magic about it, how to combine both into the same time. Yes, and this is something everybody will need to figure out. This is when the magic happens and you are stopping from the separation of either that or that into it's both of it at the same time. Yeah. And now in regards to this overthinking, so what is it that people, for example, are able to practice? There I can suggest, for example, you are choosing one object, which can be in a lot of cases an object that we call that is your meditation object. It can be the breath, for example. So instead of following up what comes into your mind, which means if you have too many thoughts, we turn it around. You are deciding what you are going to put onto your mind for the next 5 minutes. Whatever it is, whatever you choose, this is your so-called meditation object. So that means I am telling myself, okay, for the next 5 minutes, I am going to only place my attention, my mind, on the breath. So I feel how the breath enters into my body, and I also feel how it is coming out of my body. This is when you use the breath, for example. Yeah. Other people, if they find it too hard still, you can use this type of movement. So what is your meditation object is now, let's say, the movement. It's the movement itself, the up movement, the down movement. But the focus is there. So this is a way of what we call mindful. You are mindful of what you do. Your mind is full of something. Yeah, full of what? Full of what you have put into it. That's why then you call it mindful practice. I know exactly where I put my hands. I make it slow. Yeah, it doesn't really matter what type of movement it is. It is only as long as I do it, I know what I do. So I don't leave, let's say, these movements right now to coincidence. No, you learn for 2 minutes, 3 minutes to take something in full responsibility and awareness of what you are able to concentrate on. And this is a so-called, we sometimes also call them mind exercising or mind mind development practices. Because it's not about the movement itself. To just do this movement, it's not going to bring you too much benefit, let's say, physically. Right now, not yet. But this is, this slow movement and all of that, that is there for you to first of all learn to focus the mind. Learn to focus the mind. This number one. And afterwards, after you realize, okay, actually right now, I can feel that in the moment where I start to have conversations with people, you know when you are present or not. Yeah, you are starting to feel that, okay, now my awareness is not with you, it's gone. No? And then you feel what is the difference between now I'm mindful, now I'm not mindful. Because this ability to distinguish is therefore so essential, because if there is something that we humans can do about our life, then it can only be done while you are mindful. If you don't know you have a problem, you can't solve it. And that's it. So the whole point of why is there so much this emphasis on mindfulness? Yeah, why should I know what I do? Because if you don't know what you do, your life is a coincidence. And that's not what it's supposed to be. It is supposed to be what you put onto your mind, what you want to see yourself, the way how you want to see yourself, what you want to achieve in this lifetime. It should be possible. But only if with the allowance of what has been given into your own hands, if you also use this chance. And like I said in the first time that we were meeting, I strongly think and believe that we all have something that comes from us, that we have in our hands. And if that potential that we have in our hands is merged with our awareness and with our action, and then at the same time also is combined with the will of God, or the will of the destiny, or destiny itself, then it's going to happen. But if you put something onto the mind which is not in harmony with the will of the nature, with the will of God, with the destiny, you can try as much as you want. It's not going to happen. So, what is this discovery once again about? Discover your place in this hugeness and submit. But submit doesn't mean it's bad. It means that it's incredible that something like this exists. This is the submission. Submission, it's not in terms of you give up. No. It's not you give up life. No, you finally allow the fullness of life to flow through you. This is called submission. So you can always understand these wordings in different ways. But the one I'm talking about right now is allow life to run through you. You can express it in terms of what happens for a reason. Yeah? If something happens, and this is why it's so important, that acknowledgement. Because acknowledgement is the first step of understanding. All of what we go through belongs to the process. And what is this process? For example, everybody, every human in this world, I think, is going to different stages of challenges, let's call them like this. These challenges can be, for example, let's just take one, loss, losing something. There was a time when we all were still small child, and when somebody took something away from you, maybe some of us were already crying, because already very young you felt what losing means, to lose something that actually you like. No, then teenager, 10 years later, somebody took again something away from you, same feeling. Nowadays, somebody takes something away that you strongly feel like it belongs to you, the same feeling comes up. So what I'm saying is, throughout all the decades, the feeling of loss, it's always the same. The situations, the circumstances, they change. Why that feeling comes up. But the point is, it's the same. The feeling of loss is the feeling of loss. If you're angry about your car gets scratched, or you're angry about you lost something, or you're angry about somebody took something from you, the angriness is also the same. If you're jealous, you're jealous. There are not 50 different types of jealousy. There are 50 different reasons why you become jealous. But the jealousy is the same. The angriness is the same. The loss is the same. The hate is the same. The joy is the same. The happiness, it's the same. And so what I think is happening is that each human being is confronted with loss. And now the question is, how are you individually dealing with that now? And as long as you have not found a solution to deal with loss, losing is going to be part of the challenges you will face over and over and over again. Once you have managed and found a solution in regards to loss, there will be things coming up that make you angry, because your next challenge is overcome angriness. Small things make you angry, big things make you angry. It's always the same angriness until you found a solution. No, the anger cannot manage me. It must be the other way around. Anger solved. Then comes the next one. Question of life and death, of fear. Until you have solved the answer for yourself, how to deal with fear. And why I'm now pretty convinced to state the things like this is because there is so much similarity to the way and the reasons why we have this type of hardening methods coming from the Shaolin Kung Fu training. Hardening meaning, like you saw also before from Shifu Yanlei when he was hitting himself, we have many tools inside that you can use to get in touch with pain. We necessarily take into consideration that this is going to happen. We know when you start touching that, when you start doing these methods, the pain is going to come. We want it to come. Why? Because now you can go in. Now you can really go in, and on the go, in the present moment, that is the special part about it. In the present moment, you figure out the way how to release it. And there is that saying, when you have went over, when you have overcome a certain level of pain, overcome means it's never going to come again. It's finished. You walk through that level of pain one time. The next pain you will feel is a different one. It's not the same anymore. So there is a difference between something shows up in your lifetime and you are ignoring it, you are avoiding it, you're trying to run away from it, and you face it. You face the anger, you face the fear, you face the jealousy, you face the pain, You face what you don't like. You face the fact that you are out of your comfort zone. Why? Because you know that once you have overcome it and find a solution for it, it's solved for this lifetime. And this is my suggestion, to view these methods sometimes to make yourself life, there's that nice saying, yeah, life is not gonna get easier. It's just that your mind and your body become more resistant, more strong. Same situation, more relaxed. Why? Because you finally start to find a solution that is within your reach, within your hands. And I think the great part for me personally, why I'm still after so many years like this approach about the physical practice combined with the spiritual mental development like in the Shaolin Temple, is because there are many institutions, many philosophies that talk about overcome the suffering, ending the suffering. But end the suffering, but overcome the suffering, that gives now for me perspective. Overcome the suffering means it's gonna be there. You're gonna lose your mother. You're gonna lose your father. You're gonna lose animals and humans that you love. It's going to happen. You're gonna lose money, and at the same time, people are also gonna hurt you even though you don't even know what you did wrong. Things like this are going to happen in this lifetime. To wait for better times to come where the world will be completely in peace and you can walk peacefully over the street, never having the fear that somebody's going to come and do something to you. It's not going to happen. Because the world is just the way as it is. But knowing this, preparing yourself, learning the right ways or useful ways that are developing yourself physically and mentally to be able to walk through this lifetime. That's possible. That is something that is available to us. It's just you need to get rid of those fantasies that better times are going to come. If we don't create the better times, nothing's going to happen. So,
how would you suggest somebody becomes confident in themselves?
Yes. You talked about the circle or the spiral, and that is exactly, it's a nice picture. If every day you wake up and you are continuously encouraging yourself that your situation that you're in is the right one, because maybe there are so many reasons. Some people feel they are misunderstood by everyone. People feel that they don't have a place in this world. Other people feel that they are being discriminated. There are plenty of reasons why you feel that you do not belong to, let's say, this society. The more you are talking and thinking in these terms, what's going to happen is that you're just creating more and more distance. So that spiral starts to move in one direction. But what goes for the spiral downwards also goes for the spiral upwards. And that means that it's not just that movement that I can suggest for someone to try out, but it is also to find out the small little details and the small little moments where they feel a type of belongingness again, the belongingness to something. And that's why I'm saying, either you find some individuals that are out there that share your views and encourage both of you at the same time. If you feel like you don't belong to the humanity, it's no problem. You might just start by looking out and get in nature with animals. As ridiculous as it sounds maybe. But some people feel more connected to animals than they feel being connected to humans. Because the way our animals and humans sometimes interact is not by words. Words that can be misunderstood. Because your definition of a word and my definition of a word sometimes can be quite different. But interacting with other beings that do not share the same language is a different one. That one is taking base sometimes on behalf of, yes, your expression beyond words, which means how you feel towards something. And therefore, I also think that this is maybe a way also to get people back from that track, back from the darkness. If you feel like you're not connected to a certain part of beings, no problem. There are more beings in this world. Yes, but the main idea should really be step by step, get back and connect yourself again. First, connect to yourself. Then connect maybe with another being. Then connect within a group. And afterwards into a community. And then this is the way how to get back on track. And while all of this process is happening, the confidence is starting to also return back.
We spoke about physical routine. I know a lot of people are interested in what does your physical, like, daily routine look like?
So, my daily physical routine is either, it depends also what time of the year we have. Normally summertime, it means waking up and first of all going for a run. Going for a run for the purpose of cleaning out your lungs and getting a lot of fresh air right in the beginning of the day into the body. Now, from the traditional Chinese medicine or the view of the transition phases, we also regard the morning, meaning until noon. We are regarding that this is a certain time frame that is dominated, let's say, by rising young energy, which means that is exactly the point of time where you are supposed to come out, to do the work that takes a lot of effort from you, let's say, until noon. So, and this is why after the morning training, after the morning run, first of all, we have also our breakfast, because after the breakfast starts the first high intensity training. High intensity training can mean that the exercises I showed you with the practicing of the rings, that would be one of them. So you make several repetitions from this type of exercise. Or also I have my personal regimen at the moment of having the hardening exercises also in the morning. And so around 11, 12 o'clock we are normally finished with the first section. Then we're starting with preparing the lunch. 1 o'clock it's lunchtime, and followed up by a short break. And afterwards we have the afternoon training, where I either practice again my forms, do some stretching, or do also some standing exercises. Yeah, but maybe it would be a good idea to have a video in the future to really talk a little bit about what type of different exercises are actually existing in this field of, let's say, Shaolin Kung Fu, because it's so much that even for me, just like doing the hardening, already like 2 hours of the day are gone. If then standing practices come together, if I just choose 2 positions, then already half an hour already is gone again. For me personally, I have at the moment around 8 or 9 continuous forms that I practice. If every form just takes 2 minutes and I practice each of them 5 times, it's already again 1 hour gone. So there are so many different areas that you can develop yourself in, that one day is gone very quickly. And that also means at the same time that the longer you are staying in this field of Shaolin arts, the more methods you are starting to discover. You are gaining more knowledge, you are gaining more methods, but at the same time you feel like you don't have enough time to even practice all of this. And this is where now my understanding goes, that there is the saying, it is impossible to master Kung Fu in one lifetime. I can understand somehow where this idea is coming from. And what does it mean, mastering Kung Fu? And there one teacher used to say, practicing Kung Fu is life, and life is Kung Fu. So if you master Kung Fu, it means it's mastering life. It means you're mastering to take life into your own hands. In the Kung Fu, you are responsible to build up yourself as a Kung Fu master. Kung Fu master, master of life, mastering your own life. This is what all of this is about. And sometimes one lifetime is not enough to get all the tools in order for you to know how to fix everything that this life is throwing at you. And this is again where then the idea comes from, that every lifetime we need to use in order to make us grow, in order for us to learn something new within this lifetime. Because if you believe in it or not, just assuming it would be like this, the knowledge you are gaining in this life period, you're gonna get as a new nice package for the next time you come back. Which means you don't want to waste that lifetime right now doing unnecessary stuff that does not bring you forward. Why not? Because in case you come back, you're gonna face the same issues again that you did not solve in this lifetime. And please excuse if this is maybe something not everybody can relate to, because they think it is something you need to believe in. You don't need to believe in. You just ask yourself, if that would be a way of thinking, would it make sense? And from there you start.
I think the only downside to that anyway is learning in this lifetime these amazing things anyway. Like, it would be a waste to not. But the idea of it carrying over into the next lifetime, or as we've spoken about quite a few times, is if it does bake into your DNA, if it is passed through generations, you're handing it off to somebody else anyway. These things,
Obviously we haven't got enough time to cover all the exercises, and I would love to come back and do something maybe in the summertime about, you know, maybe follow you around for the day and see your training processes. But I've seen a lot in the temple, and we practice it, and you demonstrated it yesterday, the hardening and the building of the resilience in the body, which I think if you do that now, you probably don't arrive at these darker times as easy, or when you do arrive at these darker times, you're more resilient to them. But yet, the hardening exercises, I mean, as a metaphor, I think work, but what physically, I've seen some of the stuff you do here, like, could you describe what that is? Like, what are you striking? What are you hitting? How are you putting your body through these hardening exercises?
In the Buddhist teachings, we have a saying, the first arrow always hits. That first arrow always hits means there are certain things, like sometimes words or an insult. Somebody is insulting you, it's gonna hurt. You're gonna feel that it's like just hit your ego, for example. The same goes for the physical exercise. In the moment I hit whatever material that is, I feel the pain. It's not like, it's important to understand, it's not that something is numb. It's not that like I don't feel any sensation anymore. I feel the pain. I feel the insult. But what now the Buddhist teachings say is, make sure the second arrow doesn't hit. And the second arrow is the one that oftentimes you are shooting at yourself, because after the first one hit, you are crying about being hit. And that means if I feel the pain and I try to, let's say, avoid that pain, or I suffer because of this pain, that is something that directly with my mind I try to avoid. So instead what I do is I realize, I observe what is this sensation? What is it that I call, that human call pain? What is that sensation? How does it really feel? So what is it? Is it sharp? Is it dumb? Where exactly is it? Where is the starting point from it? How much does it radiate? And so by observing this, I can detect, I can feel that there is something collecting, let's say, around that area, or even trying to collect and condensate in the mind. And then you learn to release. Even if this is loud, but during the exercises, I feel the pain, I release it. What starts to tense up, I use my mind to do the opposite. What starts to cut into the ego, I directly make the opposite of releasing it. And it is this interplay. Something comes, you release it. Something comes, you release it. More of it comes, you need to learn to release deeper. So that means the more you practice, the deeper your level of relaxation, the deeper the level of your ability of letting go becomes. And then it will always be just like, it's like an interplay. The pain is there and you release. Pain level number 1, you can release. Then comes pain level number 2. In the beginning, it's still difficult, but you learn, you repeat your releasing. And then suddenly you realize, okay, now my ability has become good enough that even pain level 2 is released. Then comes number 3. Why? Because you start to hit harder, or you start to hit more often. And so this is also like in that process, the step-by-step approach, let's say, to get used to it. And like I said, once you went over a certain limitation, that limit is done. That same pain doesn't come anymore. You went over it. You have overcome it. And if people are insulting you for this type of translation now, you learn to not let it attack or even move your ego. In the beginning it's hard, but future insults, you will just feel they don't move you. Because you already have the ability to release. And why would you ever let somebody else take away your life quality just by insulting you? That is exactly what this is about. If you do not take charge about your own internal way of cultivation, there is too much out there that can feel like an insult. But none of that is worse that you are like wasting your lifetime for it, feeling bad about it.
If you're enjoying the Master Shangyi collection, please consider supporting us at mulliganbrothers.com, linked down below, where you can get the Inspire Change t-shirts, hoodies, journals, and Momentum Warrior poster, now on sale. Go to the linked top comment for more details.
We've walked around the temple today, and we've, spoke about how you go to great lengths to make sure that you are preserving the message, and you're doing it in your way, and how important that is. Like, that's something I'm interested in, but also how this message itself has struggled to survive throughout history anyway. We spoke about temple fires last time, and how it's been passed through disciples and masters to try and get to this place where we are today. I'd just love to hear some backstory on that, and how it's got to where it is today, and also how you intend on moving it forward. We spoke about connecting the East to West as well. That seems like another step, I guess.
Okay, so like I told you already before when we are walking outside, in order to maintain a future, let's say also for our organization here, we need people that are regarding this whole organization like it would be their child. But at the same time also, as this organization would be their family where they belong to. Which means that, how does a family feel? Inside it should be secure and harmonious. Organization-wise, it means I need to find a way, first of all, that everybody involved in this monastery here does not need to worry so much anymore about the daily issues that you might be having. Only then I think it's possible to build up something for the future. So, what is the future vision of all of this? That we are right now trying to share this knowledge one-on-one, by direct transmission from master to student, in such a way that one day all of our students here will be able to support us, to support this organization and share more knowledge out by sometimes going out, having workshops, going out, having seminars, and or just starting to share through all the channels, whatever they will have access to in the future. Things are sometimes developing so fast, I cannot have an overview over all of these things anymore. Yeah. So therefore, right now, the best thing I can do is to try and pass on what I know right now to the next generation that I think is the next generation. Yeah.
Is the just a brief history as well of how we got to this point.
So, what exactly you mean from where?
From the original, the first ever Buddhist temple that turned into a Shaolin message. So from that point, we spoke about. I think last time there was temple fires, and they had to take the messages. I think we spoke to Tulam about this as well, didn't we? How they would preserve the scrolls, and they had to hide from people, and it'd be really interesting to hear what you know about that as well, to input into sort of preserving the message.
What I know is when people receive some type of knowledge, that knowledge can be very, very powerful. There is knowledge out there that just gives you the ability suddenly to see for yourself what you are capable of. Now the question for me is, if I would like to run any type of system, if I would like to establish some type of structure, I don't want that everybody inside the structure does what he thinks he wants to do. It just would not work. So now the problem is, in the moment where you are receiving some type of knowledge and you for yourself can understand your potential, I think it's not wanted. So based on that, it was unwanted after some time that the real knowledge, that the real methods are being shared to too many people, not just in China, but worldwide. I think it's still nowadays like this. There is some type of knowledge people don't want that it's getting out there. Why? Because after you have this type of knowledge, after you practice and develop yourself, you cannot be controlled anymore. You cannot be influenced so easy anymore. Why? Because you see for yourself what you can do and what you can't do. You don't need to listen for anybody to tell you what you are able of and what you are not capable of. This is what it means to bring out the potential of someone. Which potential? The potential to express yourself. If you don't realize that potential inside of yourself, what you can and what you can't, other people will tell you. Other people will put you in that category where they think you would be useful for. Yeah, but this is not what I think is the intention and the purpose of you living this life. I think for all of us, living this life means you have the right, in a way, to self-express yourself as long as you don't harm other people along this way. So this complete knowledge and at the same time the methods that were strengthening, hardening and making your body become a weapon, this combination is deadly for any system. You're a good fighter and you're intelligent and wise. You know what you are mentally and physically capable of, and your body is at the same time strong. It's the worst combination. Nobody can tell you something. So, and this is why it's a big jump right now. But there is the time where the practical, where the practice of the martial arts was forbidden. And now, based on that, I don't want to go too deep into it because sometimes these are legends, sometimes they are fairy tales, I don't know. But some movements of the traditional martial arts styles, for example, sometimes you see that it looks like a farmer's job. Because it is said that this type of fighting techniques were hidden inside the farmer's job because they couldn't publicly practice their kung fu. They needed to hide their training in, let's say, daily activities where nobody could witness this. I cannot tell you if it's a legend or not. It's out of question that there are practices still existing nowadays that definitely have some similarities. And yes. But the main idea is that there was a time where all of this practical approach was forbidden. And And that was at the same time also the point where I think it happened. That the majority of knowledge that once was hidden inside those walls started to spread into the world. And this is why you don't find it anymore where you think it is. It maybe slowly is coming back again. But it's still out there right now. And like I initially also said, what is another mission of this monastery? It's the same like it is 1,500 years ago. Collecting knowledge, this time it just means we have to recollect it because it's lost. And number 2, educating the youth. But educating the youth, now it's our novices, the master students, and the disciples, and everybody who in a way is now in contact with this temple. With what goal? Give the power back. Give the power back that people have. Because I can already feel people don't like what I do. Some people don't like what I do. I know it. But that's just the way how it is. I have learned along this way that the more you shine, the more shadows you cast. It just goes hand in hand. That's the price for all of this. The more you go out, the more you are exposed in a way, the more silent, the more alone you are in other times. That's just the way how it is. And yeah, for the moment, this is the way how I would like to express all of this. Because I think on the long term, it is the way how we can also give something back.
We spoke before about Joe Rogan sharing a message, and I don't know how much you know about Joe, but I feel that a lot of the messages carry over. Like he talks about being lethal, educating people, trying to sort of unlock people's minds, and I'm just wondering, when you say about this in particular, to look, it's often where you are not looking. Somebody like him sharing your message, I mean, 10 years ago probably would sound quite a strange thing, but now it seems to be quite normal. How much of that is in the planning for you? Like, or is that part of the connection between the East and West? Like, people like Joe who have got this huge platform to educate the youth. Is that something that you intend on trying to connect with and move maybe the old world and the new world together in some way?
Now, for example, in the past 2-3 years, I have to say I traveled quite to a lot of different countries. And what I see there in a way is that humans have the same issues in every country, regardless of nation and culture. There are some things that are just connected to being human. At the same time, I realize that some nations, some cultures are very much embedded also in the way of how they were brought up, meaning with a very specific type of looking at the world. Another part of this world has other ways of looking at the same problem. Everybody is looking for the solution of their issues. And sometimes there is not only one answer. Sometimes the answer from them is correct and the answer from them is correct. Because sometimes the answer and the solution is based on the person itself. I make it maybe a little bit more clear. In Buddhism exists, for example, this idea of reincarnation. In other traditions, you don't have reincarnation. Either you have paradise or you have hell. So now somebody might be asking, so who is talking the truth now? The Christians or the Buddhists? So what of them? Either reincarnation or hell and heaven. What if both of it would be possible? What if the person who his whole life long believed and grew up in this belief system, there will be heaven and hell. Okay, you go to heaven and hell. And if somebody died with the last thought of reincarnation is possible, why he can't get to that state of being reincarnated? Who says there can only be one of those two things? Because potential for me means if a human can think it, it's there. And if somebody creates something in the mind between heaven and hell, it's there. If somebody creates in his mind reincarnation, it's already existing in the mind as well. And so from this example, I can just see that what nowadays is happening is that a lot of Eastern insights, Eastern methods, for example, are on the one side being more and more exposed in the Western world. And then it seems like the Western world now is trying to counter with some insights that the Western science and the Western culture maybe has developed. And I just think both of them are right. It would be good to see the connection between how both of these insights can be brought together, because it just gives you a bigger view. And eventually, we're talking about the same stuff and not against each other. Yeah. So, and in that sense, very, very glad and very thankful if there are people that are maybe famous out there, if they also sometimes share the methods, even though they are coming maybe from another area. It only tells me, okay, maybe he got it. Maybe he understood that it's the same. It's just I just speak another language. With the way of how I speak, I can reach a certain group of people. With the way of how another person explains it, for example, Joe Rogan, the way how he talks, he reaches another group of people. But what is it that is reaching them? A message. And this is the important part. I don't care how the message is reaching them. I want the message to get out. It can be sent out, it can be there are many different channels how to get messages out. For me, important is it needs to get out. How? I don't care. There are many different possibilities. And I just think that the more understanding there is in this type of field, I think something huge can be established.
The bit we were speaking about before this that really interests me is those people that give you that spark. When you're around them, they give you a spark. And I can talk for both of my brothers. I have that feeling with them all the time. If we're working together, creating a project or a film, I know all of us have this feeling of it's a spark. It's really hard to describe that sensation. I have it with a few very close friends of mine as well, and that's why they are very close friends of mine, because they give me that spark. But how would you articulate that to somebody, that feeling? Because I couldn't put it into words myself.
So, when you are meeting a person, for example, and it feels to you that actually for you it matters what that person says. Yeah, it's already like an indication there is something to be learned maybe. You realize even more when that person starts to talk a truth. And you feel that that truth, even if it's an open critic, was somehow meant for you. Then you also know, okay. So there are like small hints when you feel somebody is able to make you move inside there. Then that person apparently has some type of power over you. And then it becomes interesting to figure out who is that person. How come he is able to, and the thing is, he knows. He knows that he can do that with you. And that's, for example, like small indications how you realize there are powerful people out there. And if I meet someone like this, I want to know how they do it. Or at the same time, I also want to know by myself, how can it be if, like, let's say you are regarding yourself already as being confident, as being strong, as being unshakable, let's say. How can it be somebody shakes you right now? So this is a type of where you learn there something gets triggered inside of you. That fire of finding out. Yes. And yes, it's really difficult to explain, as you said before. But if you just pay a little bit more attention, and this is the whole idea, that in the practices that we do, the first one, like I also mentioned before, it's about opening. Opening the mind, opening the body, opening the senses, opening your awareness. Why? Because with awareness, everything starts. I need to be aware how many people are in this room. Then I can tell you how many people are in this room. I need to be aware he or she just said something. I think it was meant for me. You need to be aware of this. You need to be aware. All the time I was actually feeling quite comfortable and peace, but in the moment where he or she started to open his mouth, I felt I'm starting to move something inside of me. So it's awareness that opens possibilities up for you. It's the awareness to realize there's the chance right now, go for it. And this is why the beginning, this awareness is a very, very important aspect. And yes, because like I said, sometimes you are finding yourself in the period where you receive a lot of chances, a lot of possibilities. Sometimes you're in a time slot, you're in a time frame, no possibilities there. Just waiting and be happy about what you have. But sometimes those periods come where the possibilities start to add up. And then I think it is important to realize and become aware of them. To be able and take that decision. Are you going to go for it or not? Yeah, but being asleep all the time is difficult. Yeah, and that is the reason you don't want to sleep right now. You want to be awake. You want to be awake and you want to be clear. Being awake and clear. Now your life is in your hands. Being numb, being under drugs, being I don't know, being smoky in the head, I don't know how to say. It's difficult. Be awake and be clear. And then fill up your energy tank.
I love it, and when you're describing that was a very good description of how it feels. You know, the intuition to go, I'm listening to this person. And the funny thing was for me, especially with my brothers and a couple of my friends, is a criticism from them. I'm interested, and it means something to me to hear that. And you know, fortunately for me, or maybe I don't know how many people normally have in this situation, but I have around my three brothers, my sister, and a couple friends. It's very tight, the group of people who I consider who give me that. But I feel very fortunate that I have that, and I feel it's quite sad because I think a lot of people go through life without having that at all, or they don't think it's necessary. But yeah, the way you've articulated that was fantastic. I hope people listen to that and maybe notice that there are certain people around them that maybe they should gravitate themselves towards a lot more as well. Last year we released a video with the title Unshakable. It performed really well, and I think to hear your take on that a little bit more as well. I think a lot of people were talking about living in a chaotic world or being around chaos, and that video for me, or the word unshakable, is something that I think people should strive for if they feel that they're in this chaos or in a chaotic world, or there's so much noise going on around them. But again, just to hear more words on becoming unshakable.
Let's just jump into another way of how in this monastery we sometimes are expressing a certain feeling. If you are entering into this room without any self-confidence, without actually knowing where to go, where to sit, what are you supposed to do? If you don't know it, the rest of us inside this room right now, we're gonna tell you. Why are we gonna tell you? Why are we going to determine what you are supposed to do? Because our expression, our confidence, and our energy is stronger, and therefore is easy to penetrate into your field of energy, which is not there if you have a low energy field. If you are, let's say, if it's not developed. Sometimes you walk into a bar, you walk through the street, you walk anywhere. Sometimes you feel that person over there is different already, is expressing something differently. Sometimes you say it's confidence, sometimes maybe you say it's arrogance, but sometimes it's also something dangerous. No matter what, but you are sensing something. And so the point is, number one, in the moment where we become more aware, it doesn't only mean you become more aware of other people's field of expression, but but you will automatically also start to become aware what type of energy are you expressing. And in order to not let your world being influenced too much by the outside circumstances, there is only one way, or let's say two ways. Either you find a shield that blocks everything that from the out world is trying to penetrate you. Either you have some type of a shield that can protect you from incoming influences, that just boom, shuts you down. Or your own energy field, your own expression, your own aura, let's say, is strong enough that nothing just penetrates it. That if something has an influence, then it is you on others. But how do you do this? And this is that expression. What does it mean to become unshakable? That you want to develop yourself in such a way that you can be the rock for others where people are going to hold on to. Not the other way around. You don't want people playing around with you and you yourself don't know where are they pushing me, where am I moving. This is you're shakeable. This is you're movable. But you are in peace with yourself. You are in peace with your life mission. You are in peace with the way how you are talking, how you are behaving, what your contribution is to the world. You are in peace with how people see you. Then I think you automatically, slowly start to emanate something where you already know when you're meeting someone, okay, better don't start any trouble with him. You don't do it. You know it already. And so that means sometimes there are these type of areas where it's not about speaking anymore. It's about somebody enters the room and you know already. If it is somebody you would like to cope with or somebody you maybe not would like to cope with. And similar to this type of energy expression, this is what makes you not move. So unshakable, meaning you have found a way to be in peace with yourself, the way how you are. You can take critics, you can take compliments, also important. Unshakable doesn't only mean you are okay when somebody criticizes you, that you are able to live with criticism. Unshakable also means you are very aware that if somebody gives you a compliment, you also don't use it to fuel up your ego, because this is just the other direction. One tries to pull you down and the other one tries to raise you up more than you are. Both of it you don't do. Why? Because you have found yourself already. There is nothing that can be taken away from you. No dignity can be taken away from you. No pride can be taken away from you. And at the same time, there is nothing that can be added to you. Doesn't matter how much honey they give you. There is nothing to be added. There is nothing to be taken away. You are full and complete the way how you perceive yourself. And then I think this is a mental state, a mindset, a way of living that not just reduces a lot of problems when you are confronted with a society, but also for yourself. It's healthy. Why? Because you're in peace. So becoming unshakable, being unshakable, for me is just the other expression off, you know what is balance. You are able to tap into that harmonic state that you can cultivate, which is peace. You're in peace. Because peace, no matter what you do, peace is peace. You can push it, it's still peace. You can pull it, it's still peace. It doesn't change just because other people try to adjust something. Yes.
You just mentioned that like an energy field or energy, and I think last time we spoke about some people have the energy of a wolf, some people have the energy of a sheep, and some of the energy you're talking about there has a heavier influence than other energy, or maybe a different influence. But one thing that comes up quite a lot is the idea of alpha, like an alpha energy. Does that have connection to what we're talking about in terms of having a heavier influence on people?
I do think that there are connections, yeah, in the way how you behave, in the way what you have cultivated yourself, but also, for example, what we talked before about how do you bring out masculine attributes. I do think that there is something in relation to these type of thought patterns that we talked before. But at the same time, the truth also is not everybody wants to be a wolf. Not everybody feels well to be the alpha. Because yes, it has advantages to be the alpha, but sometimes it also means as the alpha, you have responsibilities. If you cannot cope with those responsibilities, stop looking to become the alpha if you only want to choose half of it, what means to be an alpha. You want to have the advantages that go hand in hand with it? No, it's not working like this. You have to take the full package. And that means leadership position 1, responsibility 2. Just as it is with the family. But now we are not animals, now we're talking about humans. There are humans following you. There are humans listening to your advice. It's a very bad thing to use this type of influence on people and your intentions are not right.
If you're enjoying the Master Shahangi collection, please consider supporting us at mulliganbrothers.com, where you can get the journals, the Not journals, the success journals that actually work, linked down below.
We're closing out at the moment. We're getting close to the end of 2022. A lot of people have been asking, about new starts, new beginnings, how to plan for the new year, how to prepare for the new year. And I thought, who better to ask than yourself?
Thank you very much. Yes, so now, regardless of being located in the monastery, also in the past, I met a lot of people, including myself, that always, when there was the switch to the next year, many people always have their new plans and new ideas, what's going to change in the next year, and what you're gonna start to let go of, and what maybe is going to be something new that you are starting to integrate into the next life. At the same time, sometimes it's also good to realize whether you are already sometimes caught within some type of a habit. And to take a step back, especially at these times when anyway things are slowly getting more quiet. I would suggest that everyone takes a personal small retreat. That means retreating back to yourself and really ask yourself that question. What is it essentially that you are looking for living this life? regardless of how old you are right now. How much of where you want to go did you achieve already? And also, are you actually still finding yourself on the way to wherever you wanted to go? So first of all, before we even know which future direction you would like to go towards, number one is we need to know where are we actually standing right now. So to know where we're standing is, observe your surroundings. They can give you an indication where you are right now. Look around you. One indication. Second of all, look inside of you. How do you feel about the way of life that you are at the moment living? You had almost 365 days from that current year right now. How do you feel about it? Where did it brought you? Where did you decline? Where were you able to increase something about you? So number one is find out what is the status quo. Where are you located at the moment? And it is similar, like sometimes in a few Buddhist stories we are saying, before you know in which direction to sail, first of all, you need to know where you're located. Because the journey is not for everyone the same. In the way of what we are trying to share, we are trying to share methods, certain principles. But ultimately what needs to be done is that an individual person is starting to take all of these methods and applies them very specifically to your own personal way of, let's say, understanding. Because sometimes people ask, so I want to go to, let's just say, I want to go to New York. But one person is asking that question while he's located in the UK. And another person is asking me that question because he's located in Japan. That means the answer is not going to be the same. The goal is the same, but the answer that I would need to be given would be a different one. And therefore it is very, very similar to now people asking, so this and that is what I want. What should I do? I don't know. I can only give like the tools. I can only try to give some ideas and some ways of how you can use the mind to more intelligently approach that idea of fulfilling the goal. But the ultimate plan, which direction to travel, is something everyone personally must do. But therefore, in order for you to know, to now start and making up the plan where the journey is going to go, number one, we figure out what is our current state. So this is number one. And now, afterwards, I would like to give an introduction to something that in the Shaolin community, in the Buddhist community, it's already widespread and well known that there is a so-called guideline or a so-called Noble Eightfold Path, it is called. It is called Noble Eightfold Path because it is describing a journey to fulfill the fourth noble truths. I think we talked about it in a previous video where we went over the Four Noble Truths, but this time we are at the Noble Eightfold Path. Now, to take something or to say something prior to this path, Some people might see that there is a chronology behind the way of which of these steps to pay attention on first. But ultimately, they all go hand in hand. So what it means is the next 8 steps. This is not about that you need to do one after another. Actually, all of these, sooner or later, are taking place at the same time. Now, what is the emphasis of following a type of guideline? Where is this path guiding you towards? And I would say at the end, it is once again, it is those 3 areas that ultimately have an effect on the quality of how we are perceiving this life. It is your mental state, it is your physical state, and it is the way how you are embedded within this society. And especially that part about the society means that sometimes everyone just needs to think about what are virtues that you think are beneficial within a society to live together. Even if these rules are not written anywhere. Those are rules that go in, like, let's say, a mutual understanding. And to derive this type of view towards the other, this is what in the Buddhist terms we call it is the ethical conduct. The way how you are walking out into this world, with what type of own set rules are you walking through this lifetime? The simplest one and the most important one set already is you can self-express yourself in the way how you like, but you do not do so when you are harming others along the way. So that means the harm for others is something which belongs to the ethical conduct. It is something you are putting to yourself. So regardless of what you are doing, regardless of where this path is taking you, one codex is you are not going to harm anyone along this way. So, and that Noble Eightfold Path is actually combining all of these 3 areas: your mental state, your physical states, and the way of how you are interacting with the society. Let's start with the first path, which is called the right understanding. To give you an overview what's going to come right now, maybe it's easier if I just mention all 8 first of all. Number 1, the right understanding. Number 2, the right thought, right thinking. Number 3, right speech. Number 4, right action or right behavior. Number 5, right livelihood, the right way of earning your living. Number 6, the right effort. Number 7, the right concentration. And number 8, the right meditation. So, what does it mean, right understanding? And why is it, for example, mentioned now as the first state? I do think that if you are looking at the world already with predetermined concepts, looking at the world already with some type of expectation, then it's going to be very difficult to really see how the things are. So right understanding involves all these type of learning to see how the things are. Similar to that story, day and night, both at the same time. Same as the view, nothing in a way is permanent. The same way how you are realizing that many emotional states, many thoughts that are coming, they come and they go. None of them lasts. So that means there is a fluctuation of things. Right understanding means you're starting to look out in the world, observe just more around you, to figure out maybe if there is a type of structure that you can see, things that are repeating. Because based on that, based on how much have you understood of how certain things in this world are functioning, based on that arises the right thought. How do you know if something is the right thought or even the next one being the right speech? Right thought or right speech, simply you can also just turn it around, being the absence of wrong thought or ill thought, or the absence of ill talk or bad talking. So just staying, for example, with number 1, number 2, and number 3. What does it mean? Right understanding, right thought, right speech. It is the way for you to prevent anything arising inside of you that has the seed of ill thought, of bad thought. You do not want to look at another person, to look at another creature, to look at another being and create something that you would regard as being an ill thought, let's say. The same goes for the right speech or the absence of right speech, meaning gossiping. Now, in that point of the right speech, it doesn't only mean to take care of what you are talking. It's also important to understand that sometimes, even if you would like to say the truth, even if your words are true, but it's not always the right point in time to speak the truth to someone. That can mean if somebody at this moment in time is very much emotionally charged. Something just happened in a few minutes ago. Sometimes it's not good to even use true words in such circumstances. So right speech doesn't only mean using words that don't hurt anyone. It also means using words at the right time with the right understanding. The right understanding that there are times where it's useful and there are other times where it's pretty much out of place. This is also belonging to a type of understanding that we would like to cultivate in ourselves under that category of right speech. So to bring it back into perspective, what is it that I would suggest for next year? What are you supposed to do right now? give yourself a lecture. Give yourself a guideline that you are now trying to put it into practice. This guideline is that Noble Eightfold Path. So that means every day think about what does right understanding mean to me. One way to do it is just do some research. What does right understanding mean? Based on that research, go back to yourself, look out in the world and try to understand what does right understanding mean. And then the next step, and what does the right understanding right now has to do with myself of which thoughts, what thoughts, and how are thoughts being created inside myself. So how does the way of how much you understand about this world affects the way of what type of thoughts are you cultivating? After you are starting to investigate of where your thoughts are coming from, you this time pay attention during that week everywhere where you're going. Take care about what is leaving your mouth. In which tone are you talking to people? What type of vocabulary are you using speaking with people? How is the intonation while you are talking to people? That means become aware of what is it that you are transmitting in the moment you are opening the mouth. Not necessarily what is it that you would want to transmit. First of all, also observe yourself. How does what is leaving your mouth is being communicated and is being understood by other people? Because it's not important what you mean by your words. It's important how does the other one understand it, what you just said. And that means a lot of misunderstanding can also be, let's say, reduced in the moment where you just become more aware of the impact of your words. And right speech integrates parts of what I just said right now. So being aware of what is it that you are saying. And all of them merge together with that ethical conduct that you do not want to harm others, neither with your thoughts nor with your speech. So then afterwards the following points, for example, the right behavior. It almost goes without saying that first we are thinking something, then we are talking about it, then we are doing the things. So same goes here. Now pay attention to the actions that you are putting within the next year into the daily being. Because it's another 365 years where a type of conditioning is taking place. And this conditioning is consisting of the actions that you are doing, the habits that you are having, the behavior that you are putting towards others. Which then means the right livelihood. Right livelihood meaning how are you earning actually your possibilities of living this life. I think in that time where that Noble Eightfold Path was developed, it also meant, for example, that if you have the ethical conduct to not harm too many beings, the right livelihood would quite a lot be in conflict of being a butcher. So right livelihood meaning, by the way of how you are making your living, are you causing harm along this way? Are you causing harm along this profession, let's say? And now you must understand that this type of guideline, this type of Noble Eightfold Path is like centuries old. So what does it mean? It means that a lot of experience went into these type of statements. That means even if you are taking care of your right understanding, taking care of the right speech, taking care of the right thought, taking care of your right actions, but still you are embedded in a surrounding that by profession is causing harm, it's still at the end somehow difficult to really fully commit to that path. And this is now my interpretation why I think right livelihood does play an important role within the normal daily life. Because you can be and say that you are a really, really, let's say, person that doesn't want to cause harm. But then you must make it from beginning until end without any excuses in between, which also involves, therefore, the right livelihood. Yes. So number 6 is the right effort, meaning you know the path, you know what needs to be done. And sometimes doing the right things is a difficult thing to do, because it's not always what naturally arises. It is something that you need to condition yourself in. It is something you need to train yourself in doing so. And therefore I think right effort meaning to continuously pay attention and have patience in fulfilling and trying to put this type of guidelines into your daily life. Now, right concentration, meaning to be aware of where you are focusing your energy, of where you are focusing your intention. That is already like beneficial if you just try to put as much as you understand from these paths into your daily life. But nevertheless, if somebody really wants to know what does it mean, you need to do the research. Yeah, you cannot really just rely on, let's say, my interpretation, because that's exactly what it is. It is my understanding of how these wordings do have a meaning in my life, how I put them into practice. Yes, but I'm very sure that there is way more to each of these sentences. But that is dependent on where is somebody standing right now. Somebody who's just starting this path, he has one type of understanding. Somebody who already knows these type of guidelines, who already knows them for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, some decades, who already practiced them for some decades, he has another understanding with them. Yes, it's just that this path is like showing you off if there is something to adjust within your life, which are the areas to adjust. And that means adjust first of all. Do you have the proper understanding in what you as a human being at the moment are embedded in? Meaning, if you think this world is about you, think again. Maybe you misunderstood something. That's why the right understanding is something very, very fundamental for everything else to follow. Yes? Then afterwards, after let's say you understand, okay, let's just assume I understand or I can see apparently that there is a connection between us humans, between the people that you are dealing with. Let's just assume there is a connection. If there's a connection, merge together with the ethical conduct that you do not want to harm, which would normally automatically arise in the moment where you feel the connection, then it means in the way of how I am thinking, in the way how I am talking, I do not want you to get any harm from that. So that means watch exactly what type of thoughts are you cultivating towards your colleagues at work. You regard them as being colleagues, that you are all working on the same mission, let's say. You're all pulling on the same rope, or you're regarding yourself being surrounded between your colleagues and this is about competing. These are moments where a thought can arise. Afterwards, same with the speech, same with the actions. Coming once again to the way how you are earning your daily life. And now the other three areas that we think need some improvement is the way, first of all, are you meditating? Do you have inside your daily life a meditative practice? In meditative practice, you find plenty of ways and plenty of explanations how to either get started with it or even to just get a glimpse of why would it be necessary to integrate this meditation inside of you. And meditation is the practical way. It's the practical way to start and see more. Why to meditate? To bring clarity to your life. What to do when I have clarity in my life? I start to see things better and therefore start once again to understand things better. So there you right now, for example, can see that meditative practice is very closely related also to the amount of how and what you are understanding. This is why it's not a chronology of steps that somebody is going through. All of this at the same time, as much commitment as you would like, as much effort as you would like to put into this type of practices. But since, let's say, people were asking, so I don't know what to do. What should I do? That is the traditional Buddhist guideline of starting the path. And afterwards only come one sentence that maybe people have read before. There are only two mistakes along this way. You are not starting this one, or you are not bringing this one to the end. That's it. To sometimes contemplate or meditate about how does thankfulness actually feel. And because these type of, let's say, qualities in the Buddhist teachings, in the Shaolin teachings, we sometimes call them, these are like the qualities from the heart. Love, thankfulness, joy, compassion. Love, thankfulness, joy, compassion. These are four qualities, let's say, that are necessary to be developed if you want to take full part of this life. because that's the quality of life. To be loving to yourself and then towards others. Only if you know what love is, you can understand what compassion is. Because compassion means, because you love, let's say, you have a feeling for yourself, then you project this feeling towards other people. Then you look out in the world and you see the people that either they have not realized yet what they have, or you see that they are being blocked or sad by whatever, that love does not shine out from them. And because you feel this for them, that this is something which is missing in them, which is blocking them still, this is why the feeling of compassion arises. That you would wish the best for that person, that eventually all the blockages, all the stagnation, all the fantasies and illusions start to dissolve, and that natural feeling starts to come out again. That's why this love and compassion is so close related. And the thankfulness, I think it has also something to do just with the way of the tea, the appreciation of the process, the appreciation of the uniqueness of individuals, and the thankfulness that no matter what, that we have this chance right now to be alive. Yeah, some people complain about that they are alive, then commit suicide, which in terms of Buddhist perspective is one of the worst things you can do. Because it is like this nature, God, the creator, the creation, gave you the chance, something very special, existence, and you waste it by committing suicide. This is how, like, I put it now a little bit harsh, but that's how it is. So it's like you disrespect the creator's creation. Yeah, and that's why, like, this thankfulness, this respect and appreciation for life is also something that we relate to as a quality of the heart. And yeah, and the other aspect, of course, this life, nothing is sometimes too serious, therefore joy. Sometimes you need those joyful moments where you come back to making the mind empty and return back to the stage that very often I think you can see in children. There is no predetermined concept yet how to behave when that joy arises. And then when the joy comes, just let the joy be. Yeah. So, and meanwhile, in this world, if I look out, sometimes you just need to go out in the city here in Germany, yeah, and it's that serious. You rarely see people walking meanwhile somehow just on the street and at least have a little bit of a smile on the face. It's that serious. Business life even more. There it's not just about being serious, there you have the poker face. There you additionally add something up on top of the face just in order to cover up what's the real deal. Now, this is where sometimes we are nowadays. And of course, these things have developed because there was probably a reason why it maybe is useful to have these type of attitudes. But to balance things out, I think it's also necessary to at least know about the existence that these type of qualities is something that not just in our tradition, but I think there are many traditions which are relating these qualities, love, compassion, thankfulness and joy, to the core elements of the human being. So And this is something that part of our curriculum inside this monastery is what we want to bring out. Because sometimes, of course, you can ask, so here in the temple, you are spending so much time doing all this type of training, going through the methods where it partially is so painful, there is no joy at all, yeah? But it doesn't mean that we don't like and we don't enjoy what we're doing. We still have our moments over here that are a little bit beyond any type of conceptual structure. Yes? Yeah. Yes, so and one way of how you can get in touch again with the qualities that I just mentioned before is, let's just take thankfulness. It is always this type of structure, also in the teachings in general. If you don't have it, you cannot give it. That is the core essence. So first of all, that also means we need to find a way to get whatever we want to share one day, we need to get it. So, thankfulness. And the easy way is you take yourself some time, can drink some tea, you need space for yourself. You need the space because now you need to go into the space. The space, for example, of your past. And you go through the moments that come into your mind where you think you were really grateful, where you think you had this feeling of thankfulness. Somebody gave you something, you received something, you achieved something, no matter what it is. So it is something individual from your lifetime. The important part is that it must become real for you again. You try to call up again that moment where you felt this thankfulness. And in that moment where you then feel, there is the glimpse of it. Now I can slowly feel it again. That was how it felt. Now it is what we call, now you are adding intention to it, which means you are trying to multiply this feeling inside of you. So you are immersing into this feeling of thankfulness, and it's like, first it's that small seed, it's like a small flame. And now what you do is, you nourish that flame, that it becomes bigger. Yeah, that it becomes bigger. That after some practice, you know very clearly that is thankfulness. It feels like this. Love feels like this. Compassion feels like this. And joy feels like this. And now that you have it, now that you very clearly can determine that's it, now you can project it. In the moment you realize it in yourself, in that moment you realize it in other people. And this is like that really special part, why I think there is no way around than developing yourself with all the skills that you think you want to bring out in this world, or what you think is missing, is lacking in this world. Whatever you think is lacking there, we need to be the ones, first of all, to cultivate it in us. And afterwards, we can very clearly see, in that area, they have it already, this area needs improvement. That one doesn't have it. And this is the idea why every monastery has a protected area. Because inside this protected area, you need sometimes to take your cup of tea, sit back alone, and contemplate. And cultivate something inside of you first, before we then one day go out of the walls, go out of the gates, and do the work. So that is maybe a little bit now also the explanation. Yeah, why is it so strict? Yeah, because on the one side, inside this monastery, it's not that we're here only like for the fun of it. It's also for the fun to express ourselves. But it is also to really develop something. Because it's sometimes necessary to readjust if something is misaligned. Yes? And this can happen by being that location where people can on the one side come to us, and we try as good as we can to recalibrate them, but at the same time it can also mean that sometimes we need to go out if people cannot come to us. Yeah. No, unfortunately I think jumping a little bit with the Four Noble Truths, but that was like my thinking, my thoughts in regards to greed and hate. Yes, and not knowing or ignorance. Let's start with ignorance because that is maybe easier to understand. We humans have a very good intuition. Many people have a good intuition. Or meaning, listen to yourself. If you listen to yourself, sometimes you already know the answer. The answer to, come, let's go out tonight, have a party, and let's keep going a little bit. You already know. Yeah, you already know. But sometimes we just ignore it. And this is why then later on, sometimes the suffering comes. You knew it, but you ignored it. So that's why this is the third reason why a lot of suffering in this world is coming. Because between knowing something and putting that knowledge eventually also into practice, it's a different thing than knowing and doing what you know, or knowing and ignoring. Then this does not like merge together anymore. So that is like one reason why ignorance is also one of the causes that can lead to what we call suffering. Yeah. And ultimately, not knowing, I would refer and easily explain just like that picture. What type of a day we have right now, meaning that you are not supposed to separate into day and night. We have both of it at the same time. But sometimes people don't know this. They don't even know that it is possible to think in these type of sphere, meaning that you slowly start to grasp what is it actually that we are all embedded in a world where day and night exist at the same time, where life and death exists at the same time, not chronologically after another. People don't know this because they still think in terms of chronological pattern. That sometimes also means they think in terms of it will always go in one direction. Which direction? The direction that is propagated nowadays. You need to earn, you need to be positive, you need to be optimistic, you need to have success, you need to be young, you need to be beautiful, you need to be always having. This world is not telling you, let go, support, give, death. Nobody is talking about that line. This is the line that is propagated. So what does it mean? You are being conditioned by whatever you are surrounded with. And if since 100 years Everybody is propagating that one. Of course, the mind is conditioned in this direction. So people don't know that this is only half the truth. And to slowly start observe, slowly start to contemplate about some essential things of this life where we are embedded in. That is giving you more options. That's the whole point about it. There is nothing in a way predetermined that you need to walk along this path. This is the idea of other people. To understand this one and to understand this one and to understand it's together. It's different. It opens different possibilities for you. Because you are not supposed to live a life what other people expect you to live. You live the life you expect from yourself. You express from yourself, while, once again, of course, not harming others. But besides that, everything is allowed.
If you're enjoying this compilation of Master Zhi Heng Yi, please consider supporting us at mulliganbrothers.com, where you can get the Memento Mori posters, the posters that remind you are going to die, linked down below.
Where do you see the biggest issue with people? Like where people have problems and they're making mistakes and they're not adhering to the lessons of old?
I think one of the main hindrances, I would call it like this, what is hindering someone to get answers or to get to the methods? I think it is the lack of time that you are spending in investigating yourself. Yeah, meaning too many things nowadays are outsourced. You are outsourcing maybe your happiness to outside circumstances. You are outsourcing your health to outside circumstances. Yeah, so you are outsourcing a lot of things where we think, yeah, but they should belong into your hands. Yeah, your health is not a question if you get vaccinated or not. This is just one, for example, one area. I'm not saying that it doesn't help, but what I'm saying at the same time is I cannot imagine somebody, this powerful nature, this force of the universe is putting you as a human being on this earth incomplete. Meaning incomplete to deal with the challenges that this world is going to offend you with. So what I'm talking about is, for example, the immune system. I think when you have the right methods to improve, to boost up your immune system, you can face a lot of different sicknesses by yourself. Doesn't mean that you should only rely on this, but it's already a big part that can help you. And now, without going into that field now of these type of viruses, let's just talk about the normal, average day headaches, back pain, muscle pain, joint pain, all of these things where nowadays it's extremely easy that you just flip in a painkiller and then you just forget about it. It's good that we have these methods, but still, I think a great power lies in the ability. When you spend more time with yourself, you will realize that a lot of medicine, a lot of high technology is already embedded inside of your body, inside of yourself. Yeah, but it is like a trend anyway, that many things are outwards oriented, but which is very normal. This is what we say. In the morning when you wake up, it is something very, very natural that is happening, that you open up the eyes, you get out of the bed, and so then it starts to be normal that you are interested in what's going on out there. which means you look at the mobile phone, you look at the television, you look outside, you listen to things that are around you. That means awareness is naturally driven outwards of you in the moment where we wake up. So it's natural. This is the natural state, like I said. If you don't pay attention, it's getting out of you. Therefore, what is it that the first step I would suggest somebody is doing, and what is also lacking nowadays, is the time that you realize this. To just realize one part of human existence, is it that our awareness is naturally being driven outwards. So, in order to create the balance, what we do with all the different types of methods is to regulate this. To regulate and keep an eye on the amount of time and on the amount of awareness that we are allowing ourselves to get lost out there. So that means, first of all, it's important that you see it on yourself first. Which means you don't turn the view out there and look out. The first thing to do is you turn around and see yourself. Because then in the moment where you are doing this, you are going to see yourself. And this is the beginning where once you spend time with yourself, the insight comes. Yeah, because all the time we are interested in seeing what is everything existing out there. Yeah? And it is one approach. This approach is that things are becoming, even the traveling, the journey becomes quite long and quite big the more far we go out. So it's like, first I stay inside my monastery. When I go out, I'm going to be inside this village. I go out, I'm going to be inside Germany. I go out, then I'm in Europe. I go out, then I'm on the earth, on all different continents. Then I go more out, then I'm in the solar system already. Then I go more out, then I'm in the Milky Way. Then I go more out, then you are in many different galaxies. Then you go more out. It's getting always bigger and bigger and bigger. This is also an interesting way of spending your life. Yeah, but there is one thing which not everybody is able to afford, this type of traveling. Yeah, maybe Elon Musk, he is, yeah. But not everybody has this technological and also financial capabilities to make this type of journey. But now the interesting part is that in the Asian culture, we are saying the so-called macrocosmos, that the world is always getting bigger on the one side, is actually like a mirror to the so-called microcosmos. And microcosmos means it is now not the journey where you travel outwards, it is the journey where you are traveling inwards. And instead of things becoming more big, you watch inwards, things becoming more fine. You become more refined. So first of all, you realize, okay, I have the body. Then you watch in. Oh, I have the skeleton. I have the muscles. I have the fascia. I have the organs. I have all the blood vessels. I have the energy systems. And you get more deep and more deep. And there you realize also different things inside of you. You go down, maybe you meet some atoms. Inside the atoms you have the proton, the neutron, the electron. You go even smaller, then you maybe have the quantums and the quarks. I don't know. The funny part is, on the one side it always gets smaller, on the other side it always gets bigger, but those two things still have something in common, which is, just as an example, cyclic movement seems to play a very important role. Doesn't matter in which world you are now. When you are in the outside world, yeah, our Earth is turning, yeah, we are turning around the sun, the solar system is turning, our clock is turning, a lot of things are turning, Yeah, and you go down. Our respiratory system is connected in a circle, let's say, the inhalation, the exhalation. Our heart, how the heart is pumping the blood, let's say, through our body, is also a circular system. And the digestive system, the way how we exchange energy with our surrounding, get it to us, yeah, it's happening in cyclic movement. The atoms are moving in cyclic movements. So there is something in both of these areas that remains the same. And this is one type of where I say to investigate and understand the rules on which you play the chess, or on which this life is based upon. Because then things become a little bit more helpful. Because once you know that there is this cyclic movement always and always, then at the same time you also know, if you do not want to waste energy, you try to reduce, for example, the amount of linear behavior, linear movement that you are doing in this lifetime. Meaning you investigate something that ultimately anyway, bam, comes to a hard stop. Yeah, but what does this hard stop mean? It means that all the energy that you have invested on one point is just going to vanish. Yeah, but this is kind of pointless. So what is it that you can then do? Transform. That's why we call it transformation, is something really important. Because transformation only means it maybe doesn't look like the initial investment of your energy. It is because this energy is able to take different forms and different shapes. But it's still the same investment from your lifetime that you gave into this life. Yeah, and maybe people still don't get it, but let me put it a little bit more to the point. Yeah, right now we have 8 billion people in this world. Everybody has his own ideas and his own expectations, maybe, how he sees himself and what he would like to do with himself during this lifetime. So that means we have 8 billion different ideas. And one misconception maybe, or just something to meditate about, to contemplate about, is why would this world, why would this life, or even this universe, now I express it a little bit in a negative way maybe, but why should this life care about an individual's expectation about life? And now we are not just having one, we're having 8 billion individual expectations about life. But for me, in my mind, it's just like we are talking right now about the creator of everything. The creator of the universe, the creator of the planets, of the humans, of the animals, of the plants, of all possibilities in this world. We are talking about this type of force. In comparison to the expectation of an individual human. I'm not sure who is in the more powerful position at the moment. I mean, I am sure. The thing is just, I don't think that this type of force is existing in this world in order to fulfill that individual person's expectation about life. I think it's the other way around. I think that you have been put here on this world as a small individual in order now to be open. In order to be open, in order to receive what that force has to offer you in this lifetime. Which means you are walking through this lifetime without an own idea, more or less, what to do with your life. You are open to receive, yeah, what this life in a way has to offer you. And how do you know that you are getting these messages, or how do you know that you are on this path that I'm trying to at least present it a little bit graspable to you? Just imagine you are working on a project, no matter what type of project that is. You invest a lot of effort, a lot of time, and a lot of energy into this project. But no matter how hard you try, you are not succeeding somehow. Even though you watch around, other people make similar projects, but they invest way less energy than you do. But they are succeeding. Or you're already together, the third or fourth time together with a partner. The first 3 times you broke up because you realized there is something which apparently is not fitting. But because of your hope, you go the 4th time into this relationship. But again, you're just about to feel that something is not resonating there. And no matter how much you try, it is hard for you to make it work. So. And often in such situations, then you might ask, yeah, I'm working so hard, why am I not deserving finally the success of my work? Or when it comes to the partnership, why don't I deserve to have this partner, this woman or this man in my life? This is the one way how you could ask. Or you turn around and ask it in a different way. Maybe this universe doesn't want you to succeed in exactly this project. The universe wants you to succeed, but not in that project. And the universe wants you to be in a partnership and to be and to have someone next to your side that you are deserving, but not that person. So maybe it's not that this person is you are not deserving her or him. Maybe the universe is just thinking you deserve someone better. You don't deserve to succeed in this project. Why? Because it's too small for you. Don't waste your time with that small one. The universe has bigger plans with you. So spend your time, listen to what sometimes the universe wants to give you. And that means, this is how I see, how I like sometimes feel inside. And it's one of the reasons why I meditate. One of the reasons why I sit down and I'm quiet, because I need to listen sometimes, no matter how strange it sounds. Listen to what? Listen to what the next steps are that I should be taking. So what I'm saying is, if you invest a lot of your own effort, your own willpower, your own energy, your own work into something, but it's not your, sometimes we call it karma, or it's not your destiny, or it's not in harmony with someone, with someone's more powerful presence, that then it doesn't matter what you want. You're not going to succeed. Yeah? But the greatest thing that can happen is you hear the message. You feel the message. You hear the call. And then you are taking now your lifetime, your 24-hour day, and make this call take reality. Because what it then means is, there is a plan, and you are here with your own hands
capable of fulfilling that plan.
I think when people, personally for myself, when I hear of like Shaolin training, I think of quite brutal training, quite feats of, like, I think we see like feats of strength and endurance. Is that the case? Was that the case of the physical training?
Yes. So actually what nowadays got lost a little bit, and what actually was my main purpose and a really, really big point of motivation in order for me to start building up this monastery, and also nowadays still trying to keep sharing all of these treasures, is that in the very beginning, also for me, I have to say that every time I watched the Shaolin movies and every time something about Shaolin came onto my mind, in the first place I was always limiting it in a way to the physical aspects, and meaning to the physical abilities of these people, of these persons who are practicing the Shaolin arts. But now, after 34 years, it's, how can I say, it is a very, very important aspect, the physical training. But there will come the time when you simply have to realize that it's impossible to keep up this physicality on the long run. No matter how much performance you can deliver at this very moment. But just due to the simple facts of we are getting old, we are having more restrictions inside our body, it's impossible to keep up that performance on the long term. So therefore, it becomes very, very relevant that there are other aspects about the human, about yourself, which is more sustainable and that you can keep up for a much, much longer time. And this is something that in the beginning you don't pay attention to so much because it's not interesting for you. Because we are normally, when we are growing up, we are very outwards driven. We are very competitive also. So that means for me it was also very normal. I became better because I compared myself with others. I saw how others were doing their performance. I saw how skillful other people were. And that's why I looked up to them in the beginning and tried to ask myself, okay, they can do it. How can I try and get to that point as well? And so that means competition and that competitive mind in the very beginning was an important aspect of, how do I say, of challenging yourself. And of also trying to get the best version out of you. But meanwhile, things just have shifted a little bit. And the purpose right now, why I'm training, why I'm still pushing myself, now it has shifted that I don't have the competitive mind in comparison to somebody else. But now it's really to myself only. And that means that it's endless in a way. It becomes endless, this path of how much you can grow. Because you simply just take yourself as that one person that you try to improve. And at the same time, because now it's yourself that you are taking as this idol and as the best version comparison, this also means you have a much deeper insight into the person that you're comparing yourself with. Because before, you saw the physical abilities and you saw the skills of another person, but sometimes you didn't see their character. But now, because it is yourself that you are facing with, now you can dive much deeper into what you are actually made out of. And then it comes to certain points that nowadays we know them as the virtues of the martial arts, or the so-called Wude, the virtues of martial arts. And sometimes you find that there are 10 different virtues. Sometimes you find that there are 14, and it really depends on how deep you go into this type of thinking. But what are these virtues? And I think this is something that nowadays I really think it is something that can benefit quite a lot of people. And to just put it in short terms, if nowadays you grow up somewhere in Western Europe or in the Western countries, you go to school, and what you are being taught in school has a lot to do about learning something about a subject. So that means you learn about biology, you learn about chemistry, you learn about mathematics, you learn a certain topic, a certain subject. But now, there are some people who are much quicker in grasping the essence of any subject. There are people that are very straightforward and that can be very concentrated, focused and disciplined when it comes to just studying page after page. Yeah? Other people, maybe they come home from school and the first thing is they cannot sit down and learn. They need to go out first and do other activities with friends. So there are quite different characters that are afterwards have to deal with the fact of learning to study right now. And now the same applies for the martial arts. It's like you see your instructor, you see your teacher, he's demonstrating something to you. But now some people have a very quick understanding of the mind and have a very quick coordination abilities of the mind. And other people, they don't understand very good with the mind, but maybe they can apply it very quickly. So that means there is also something else about us humans that on some people is developed and on other people it is not developed yet. And these things are, for example, discipline. So I don't think that it is a coincidence if somebody is a disciplined person and another person does not have this or doesn't express this type of discipline. It doesn't mean he doesn't have it. It's just that he expresses it maybe in a different way. And just like discipline, it's very, very often, yes, because I also think it's important. But when it comes to the Shaolin teachings, we also have something like loyalty. And now, yes, especially in these times, I think it's really good if you can have a handful of people around you where you know, no matter what happens, with the restrictions, without the restrictions, with the pandemic, without the pandemic, if you have money, if you are successful, if you are not successful, if you're healthy or if you're sick, regardless of the circumstances, you know that there are still those few people that will always circle around your life. And in a way, what does it mean if you have something so reliable, so loyal into your life? It means that there is something stable about you. There is something that you can rely on in your lifetime. And this is the fact, and this is the reason why such an important virtue such as loyalty is really, really important when it comes to building something up in your lifetime which is stable. And in many different ways, I think this stability is what you could witness in many different areas when the start of the pandemic came. Yeah, the biggest problem was that something unexpected happened, something unexpected occurred that took the balance off and took the stability off from many people. Yeah, because we humans like stability. Yeah, to be stable, to be balanced. That means also, now talking from the martial arts, when you start your training, no matter what type of system it is. The first things you normally learn in the martial arts is the proper way of standing, which means the proper way of aligning your body on the earth. Because we say if you cannot stand firmly, no matter what type of techniques and applications you're trying to do afterwards, they can only be as good as your foundation is. And this foundation means for us stability of the body, stability of the legs. But now trying to translate this into the modern way of living a life, I mean, it's very, very similar. You can start off easily nowadays to try and become famous very quickly, try to build up a very high level lifestyle. But the question ultimately is, all these things, one day they will reach their peak and they will vanish again. And then the question remains, what is the foundation that is going to hold you up? Because sometimes living a fast way up also means it's going to be a fast way down. That's why very often we say, just look outside the tree. It does not happen in the whole universe that you are planting this tree on one day and 1 week after you have that huge tree standing in front of you. It's just not happening in this world. And especially here in Germany, we have the oak trees, which are very famous for their density and for their strength also to withstand all types of different winds and storms. Yes, but at the same time, if you just watch how long such an oak tree needs to grow, then you also understand why he has that type of stability. Because he had plenty of time building his roots into the ground. Yeah, and the roots, in a way, why do you need them? Because they are connecting you with the earth, which is providing you with all the nutrition that afterwards your stem, the crown, and all the fruits afterwards need for nourishment. And in the same way now, again, translating it to us when we start to try and develop martial skills or any other skills. It doesn't matter if it's a martial skill. Any other skill that you can develop in this world. Any skill must be nourished over and over again. And this is why there is the saying, for example, the real skill, the Kung Fu, what we call Kung Fu. Yeah, it's a skill attained by investing a lot of effort. And the only way in order to express this is by repetitive structure, repetitive movements. And therefore is the saying, perfection comes from repetition. Because this is also why somebody becomes so good in filming, making very nice video shots, very nice footage. Why? How come? I'm sure he very often had his camera in his hands. Yeah, other people working with wood. He must work with wood in order to become a good woodworker. Somebody who is practicing or is in the martial art fields, his lifetime, his 24-hour day must be filled with martial art way of life. So in order to know in what is a person good in, you just need to look at the 24-hour day, at the 7 days a week, at every month, and at the last 2-3 years. And then you can very much tell already what type of skills a person, for example, can develop or has developed. Many people nowadays maybe think also you need to live in the monastery or maybe shave your head and be monk or live like a monk. Well, let's say like this, it helps.
It helps because all of this only means that for some period in your life, you don't care, let's say, what style you have. You're not interested to have a relationship at those moments. So at the end, it's really just about that you have some dedicated time where you say, first of all, I invest in myself. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. So, but ultimately, everything that we like try to share from the methods in this monastery, everybody should be able to use it. And this is why you see many teachers also like him. Yeah, he spent many years in the monastery with us. But meanwhile, he also is interested in other things in his life. He's a good dancer, for example. Yeah, he's practicing quite a lot of krump. Yeah. Breakdance, krump, yeah. And so there are many ways how you can use what you learn inside these temple walls for all the different type of stuff that you do outside. To live inside the monastery, this has never been and will never be something for the mainstream, yeah? Only crazy ones like me do this. There's for everyone, there's something. So that's the point. And this is why it also makes sense then why at all I think there are methods that can be shared to the public. Some things it's not interesting for them because nobody would really have the time to practice these things. But other things, it's good and important to know. And somewhere there we need to find the balance for what to share out and what remains inside the temple walls. Yeah. Some things, if this is also what now in the future I'm planning to share, like on this online platform, why I, on the one side, is to really to find a way also to finance everything that we are doing here. This is the one thing. But the other side is really also to start and introduce really concepts where people think those are just concepts and they cannot relate to them. I would like to make it more graspable, so that they can relate better to these things. Yeah, and now, for example, when I talk about the retreat and getting away for some time from this outside world, yeah, what does it mean? It really means you go, in our case, you're inside this monastery, you're not leaving this monastery, you are not spending too much time, let's say, on the smartphone or on the internet, or even you don't watch any movies or any television or any shows. So you're very careful about where are you spending your time actually in those 24 hours day that you have. Yeah. Let's say in winter time you sleep 8 hours, 9 hours, okay? Still afterwards you have 15 hours. What are you doing with those 15 hours? Mm-hmm. This type of oolong always reminds me, for example, it has something with like honey. I don't know why, but it reminds me somehow like honey. There's something about wax, honey, even though there's no honey inside, yeah.
Beyond like practicing and like all the stuff you would typically do, what is downtime spent like apart from chess?
So normally the daily schedule is really like this, that at around 6 in the morning, normally my disciples and the novices, they already start to stand up. Because 6 o'clock until 7 is the time where, first of all the animals in this monastery need to be taken care of. Meaning the food for the horses, the food for the dogs, the food for the cats. This is what's happening between 6 and 7. Other ones are preparing the breakfast at that time, because 7 o'clock then is breakfast. And then starting from 8 o'clock until 11, this is like the first morning session for training. Summertime, wintertime, it's a little bit different, but at the moment we're starting normally with the meditation. So sitting meditation, very calm, warming up the body just gently, but then afterwards it's just sitting calm and just breathing. This is how the day starts. And then comes like the physical training, like you saw it before, a little bit more active, and also depending on what is it that this student, for example, wants to develop at the moment. Yeah, so sometimes we have group training, but sometimes we also have individual training where you have to take care of yourself, where you want to proceed. And 11 until 1, so which is where we are at this moment, is normally the working time. Working time, which means emails need to be answered, then just the general work that needs to be done inside the household in terms of vacuuming the floor, cleaning the windows, washing the toilets, washing the clothes, going shopping. That takes place now in that 11 to 1 period, and 1 o'clock is lunchtime. After lunchtime, we normally have a break until 3 o'clock. And then 3 o'clock until around 5 o'clock is again a training time. Yeah. Training time, and 6 o'clock we have dinner. And then a short break, and 7 until 9 is again a next block where it's dedicated for practice. So there are actually 3 blocks of practices every day. And they can differ, because when I talk about practice, it's not just about physical practice. It can also mean it's something that you practice which is good for your mind. Sometimes you practice something which is good for the way how you are breathing. Sometimes you practice something which is then eventually good for your mood. Sometimes you practice something which is then really physically good for the way how you look. So practice for me is just that you are developing something on you, not just like physically speaking. So, and this is what the practice times are dedicated for. So that doesn't always mean that we go for running or just like doing push-ups or doing weight training or doing kicking and punching. This is one way of training. But like I said also, this complete way of thinking, and what is like really important also to share to the people outside there, because I don't think that the majority of people is interested in punching and kicking. No, it is about to just get access to more different methods that you can use in order to improve the way how this life feels to you. This is the main point of all of these practices. So it doesn't matter how your life look at the moment, but what we all have the same is you have a body, I have a body. And there are methods to keep the body healthy. You have a mind, I have a mind. And there are ways how to develop the mind in such a way that you don't make too many mistakes when it comes to taking decisions. Meaning, there are ways how to take decisions that afterwards you are not going to regret. That can, for example, means it's better to take decisions in a state of the mind that we would call it, it's a clear mind. It's not a mind which is like based upon emotion. Not a mind that was just angry a few seconds before. Yeah. So then people have different emotions, we have different emotions. Nevertheless, taking decisions out of emotion is not a good idea. Yeah. Everybody has organs, we have organs. Everybody has muscles, we have muscles. Yeah. And therefore this is what it's about. To go deeper into yourself and try to penetrate all the layers that are making you become who you are. And all these areas can be trained and should be trained. And this is like one of the reasons why I think it's really, really helpful to slowly introduce really these ideas, that it's about the life quality of each individual. That's what is the important part. The life quality. It's not about the punching and it's not about the kicking. But life quality sometimes can also mean you just feel more stable, you just feel better, that when you go somewhere, you know that you are feeling strong, you are feeling ready, you feel that you are able to protect the ones that you like. So that means that you are feeling strong, that you feel solid, that you feel prepared. This can also have a significant influence in the way of your life quality, in the way of how you are like walking through this lifetime. Be stable. And these are simple things right now, why all the disciples, all the students that I have here, why I want them to also learn about the martial arts. Because this is what it's about. You want to develop your body in such a way that you feel strong, that you feel vital. But not just that you feel like this, it's also important that you really are strong and vital in comparison to yourself if you would not do the training. That's important. So all this martial art training, it is about, in ancient times, it was about preparing and forging your body in such a way that you become a weapon, or that your limbs, your body becomes suitable to use it as a weapon. It doesn't mean you have to do it. It just means you need to forge it like this, first of all. And yeah, this is why still nowadays, 1,500 years, even after the original founding of the tradition in China, we are still keeping up exactly these training methods. Because to express physical strength absolutely has an impact upon how strong your mind is. It's not the only one, but it certainly is like related. Yes, also it's called in the past, it's called warrior monk. Yeah, so normally when we translate it, it's called warrior monk. So if you take it literally, or if you read it in this way, it means number one is there is a warrior. Okay, that's it. First of all, there is a warrior. So now whatever that warrior means to you. Number one, there is the warrior. And then there's the monk. So it's a warrior who lives as a monk, which means he has the capacity, he has the potential of bringing out the warrior, but he doesn't do it. Why not? Because martial arts, the practice of the wushu, or being a warrior, very often warrior, yes, also including the word war. We don't want war. It's not what we want. Because in this war, people get hurt. In this war, you have even more suffering. Yes? So, the warrior normally is Sometimes we can call it, it's the dark side of you. It is the dark side of a person. The only difference why it's called warrior and it's not called, let's say, a demon is because sometimes demons are controlling you. A warrior is different. It's the same type of power, it's the same type of force, but you are in control of it. So you have disciplined the dark side of yourself. This is the warrior part. And that means, but because you know that when you bring this out, it can cause a lot of suffering. It can cause a lot of harm also if you use it in the wrong way. That's why it's not our aim to bring out that warrior at all times. But you need to be able to at least have that spark inside of you that when somebody starts to hurt people in your surrounding, in your family, you need to have this fire and bring out then the warrior. Yeah, this is how I would express it. And it's better that you control this type of energy than you have no control over this energy. Yeah. But every human has it. If you are provoking a person just long enough, it's gonna come out. And what comes out there? Now the question is, who is controlling it? And yeah, some are called controlled by demons, and other ones control themselves. But the force is the same. It's very powerful.
Thank you for watching the collection. I know so many of you have been asking for it. I hope you play this on loop forever and you go to sleep with this. For me, I use Master Shang Yi to sleep to. I feel like it gets me in my brain. It gets to a deeper conscious level for me to hear his message on repeat. There's something about Master Shang Yi's voice that resonates with everybody. I recommend trying this. It really does work. And yeah, thank you for everyone on the support. We do have some new projects coming out with Master Shang Yi, a very, very special one that gave a true insight into who Master Shang Yi is. We did do the documentary, Who is Master Shang Yi? But that was Who is Master Shang Yi, the head teacher of the Shaolin Temple Europe. But who is he really? And that's what we did. And we had a very interesting insight. And we have some very interesting projects coming forward with him. So head to the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to be notified of these documentaries, these projects coming out in the future. If you want to help support us more, head over to mulliganbrothers.com where you can get the Not a Journal success journal, a success journal that takes your lively goals, your monthly goals, your daily goals, and you put them in every single day and reaffirm them, but then you break them down and you get them done. It's a no fluff journal. Journals have got too busy nowadays. You don't need that much. It need to be like this. This is what got me this place. This is what built this whole business. My brothers use this. And also the Memento Mori posters is a tool that I use all the time. They're posters that remind you you're gonna die. So it's all linked down below. There is a sale on at the moment. Check the top pinned comment for more details. The support makes this possible. So thank you so much to everyone who's watched. Have a blessed and productive day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
I can tell you I got love and loving relationships from my grandmother, who was a Christian Science practitioner. The kind universe, it involves me because we're more than just this world. We're part of an entire creative energy that is bigger than Earth.